Uh, hey everybody. Today I actually wanted to do um a reaction video of scary ish scary stories basically. So I just wanted to do this on Saturday. So I'm gonna call this um yes, this is also by the legend and GOAT Corey Kenshin, obviously, because I really wanted to do something that isn't copying Corey completely, but doing something that I don't even know what I'm saying. But it's not. I'm not copying Corey. And the title's gonna be different. It's called Really Scary Saturdays. Yes, it's stupid. Really Scary Saturdays is what am I? Okay, well, I'm gonna post it every single Saturday. Well, I have um a video that I want to show y'all, and we're gonna watch three videos. We can't do submissions because nobody will do it on Twitter. But if you if you want that, then just Twitter will be the link in the description. Yes. Okay. This is like 12 stories, so I'm only gonna break it down to three. Okay. So we're starting now. Super scary.
안녕. 오랜만이야. 얘는 아직 똑같아. 화장대에 앉아서 즉흥적으로 해보려고 카메라를 켰습니다. 아, 시원해. 아직 머리도 안 말렸는데.
My college career got off to a bad start. I'd gotten so caught up in getting enrolled into classes that I totally procrastinated on finding housing. I looked at my calendar and saw that there was only a week left until classes began and I had nowhere to stay. For 2 days straight, I did nothing but look for a rental, but to no avail. Everything everywhere was full. I passed out after being up for nearly 48 hours, totally depressed. However, when I woke up the next morning, I checked my
Why you sleep like that?
email to what seemed like good news. I got an offer to stay in a room from someone I didn't even remember reaching out to. Unfortunately, the listing had terrible reviews. Lots of people saying things like, got the heck out of there 48 hours after my first payment, don't ask why. Or, 48 thumbs down, a nightmare. I was disappointed, but I didn't really have much of a choice. I called them to confirm the move-in. They answered
Bro, why he built like that? Look at Brub's face. Why are you built like that?
quickly but didn't talk for several seconds. Hello, is this Subin Kim, the landlord?
사람들이 모두 이걸 보고 있으니 널 뚫어내야겠다고 생각해.
Hello? Are you there?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm here. Are you Thomas? You wanted the room? Yeah, just come over and move in tomorrow. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just pay me cash.
Tomorrow? Really? Wow, thank you. See you then. I only heard what I wanted to hear. I hadn't even seen the place yet. I was just that desperate to find housing. The next day, I packed all my stuff into my car and made the drive. I met Subin Kim inside the house. She was really good looking, in a heavily made up fashion trend follower sort of way. She showed me my room and the bathroom and everything else I need. Then she said,
It's just you and me in here for now. Nobody else wanted a well-priced room, I guess.
Excuse me. I wouldn't. If somebody said that to me, I wouldn't have got out. The hell? It's just me and you. Okay, I'm gonna just continue.
I didn't say anything about it, but I thought it was pretty strange that nobody wanted to live here. I mean, I knew the reviews were bad, but the place itself was pretty nice. That's when my suspicions fell on the landlord, and what might be wrong with her. But the only thing I noticed was she never seemed to pay much attention to me. But that's kind of
Bro, why is he so scared?
a good trait for a roommate. By nightfall, I didn't care anymore. As I finished brushing my teeth before bed, I saw a pale light coming from down the hall, spilling out from Subin's room. Absent-mindedly, I walked down the hall to see.
But this, yo, he is a creep, bro. Like, why would you just go into somebody's room like that? Whatever.
What she was up to. Her door was open and she was sitting on her bed, watching a video on her laptop where some woman was speaking Korean. It was past 9, but she had a full face of makeup and was brushing her hair like she was about to go out. I approached the side of her bed and leaned over to see
I would not go in that room, bro.
the video.
그래서 오늘 튜토리얼에서는 메이크업 루틴을 신속하게 보여줄게요.
Isn't it a bit late to be getting ready? I mean, it's only Wednesday.
It's morning in Korea. The video just dropped.
Subin moved the mouse so the title of the video would come up. All the characters were alien to me. The only thing I recognized was the number 48. Then, right at the 48-second mark of the video, it glitched. It was like a strobe effect.
Ew, yo. Leave! And I'm sitting here looking at his face, bro.
How quickly the video buffered, flipping between the same 5 or 6 frames of her brushing her hair. I don't know why, but it gave me chills. It played some kind of trick on my eyes. I kept thinking the poor girl was about to slash her own throat with the comb, but then it would go back through her hair for a split second, only to threaten her neck once more in the next frame. Is there something wrong with the Wi-Fi?
No, she's still talking. And look, the video bar is still moving.
It was so strange. It was just some corrupted video file, but
Nah, I'm out. Sorry for your water, but like, I'm out, bro. I'm running.
it was captivating. We watched it for almost a full minute, until at 1:48, it finally stopped. Subin went back to brushing her hair, returning to her habit of acting as though I didn't exist. I no longer felt welcome in that room. I left and went to bed with that glitch flashing behind my eyelids as I went to sleep. I woke up to the sound of something breaking.
Nah, now you know you gotta get the hell out of there.
There was no going back to sleep. Some kind of animalistic growling penetrated the walls of my room. I shot up out of bed and went to open my door. I saw that there were no lights on in the house, but something flickered from down the hall. I instantly knew it was that glitch playing on a screen somewhere on loop.
난 죽을 거야. 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 난 죽을 거야.
I looked down the hall to Subin's open bedroom door. She was standing there crookedly, holding desperately onto the frame of the door.
She looked like the person from Ring, bro. What the hell? If I saw somebody in the hallway like that, I wouldn't have left.
Door for balance. She was silhouetted by the pale flickering of the broken makeup tutorial. Her hair was a mess, but through it I could see the unnaturally wide whites of her eyes as she locked her gaze onto me, laughing like a psycho.
What are you doing? Why every single horror shit? Why the dude always gotta be sitting down right in front of me?
I then heard the sound of water hitting the floor. No, it wasn't water. It was urine. Subin lost
Bro, why am I watching this, bro?
control of her bladder. She slowly crumpled, landing on all fours with her stomach pointed toward the ceiling and her back arched so severely that I thought it would snap. And in that demonic stance, she charged at me. I jumped back and threw my door shut. She slammed into it and began striking it with her body, all the while making this awful sound that was some mix of enraged growling and agonized screaming. I had no idea what to do. I grabbed my phone and my car keys and opened my window to jump out onto the grass below. I sprained my ankle, but with all the adrenaline in my system, it didn't slow me down. I crashed on a friend's couch. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't go back there. I tried to tell my friend what had happened, but he didn't believe a word of it. I called Subin a dozen times, but she never answered the phone. My friend tried to convince me that it was all in my head, a product of all the stress I'd put myself through. He offered to let me stay with him for a couple days, so I took him up on it. For the next 48 hours, I tried my best to relax and figure out what had actually happened. Then, at midnight, my phone rang. It was Subin. All I could hear over the phone was sobbing and screaming in Korean.
나는 40발에 묻어 있다. 나는 40발에 묻어 있다. 나는 40발에 묻어 있다. 나는 40발에 묻어 있다.
She wouldn't respond to me, like she hadn't even realized she called me at all. I woke my friend up and had him drive me back to the house. I had to show him that I wasn't crazy, that this had all really happened. But when we got inside the house, it was worse than I could have imagined. Subin was on the floor of the living room, drenched in blood that had spilled from a gaping gash in her neck. The knife was still in her hand. Ever since then,
Already did her dirty, not gonna lie. Nah, let me stop it. Damn.
whenever I close my eyes, I either see Subin or that woman from the makeup video. Apparently, she died around the same time, about 48 hours after posting that glitched video. But I think it was more than glitched. It had to be cursed or something. I don't know the significance of the number 48 in Korean culture, but seeing it gives me chills.
아 시원해. 아직 머리도
I do not want to see you. Thank you. Why am I getting this? What am I getting? Oh, McDonald's food store. I haven't seen this one before. I haven't seen this one. I haven't seen none of them. God. My goodness, so mad.
Working at McDonald's has ruined my life. I thought it would just be a way to
Tell me about it. You got like $5 every hour. It pays more than minimum wage. 100%, yeah, sure.
save money for the future while I studied at my local college, but it turned out to be the thing that ripped my future from my grasp. It all started in the summertime. I was working the drive-through window, which is as mundane of a routine as anything else you can do at McDonald's. All the orders were passing through my hands and into car windows in one monotonous blur, just like any other day. But despite the sheer number of people that passed by me during that shift, there was one individual who stuck out. The driver of the vehicle she was in was nothing special, just her whipped boyfriend. But her, I remember her. She had this awful helmet-looking wig of ketchup red hair, which just did not go with the rest of her style whatsoever. I tried not to stare. I looked up to the screen where the orders came through to see what they got. Her boyfriend got a Big Mac meal with a large Sprite, and she got a 10-piece McNugget meal with a large High C. That may not seem relevant, but I only say this because I know for a fact that I did everything within my responsibility to make sure they got what they were supposed to. I handed over the drinks first. Then I held out the bag of food. I expected her boyfriend in the driver's seat to grab it, but instead, she reached over and snatched it out of my hands, giving me this dirty, ravenous look as she did it. I see some weird things in the drive-thru, so that barely registered anyway. Have a nice day. They sped off out of the drive-thru, and I thought I'd never see them again. I was wrong. The woman with the ridiculously red hair walked inside not a minute later. I saw her as I was grabbing a McFlurry cup from the front. She was standing with her hands at her hips, impatiently waiting to speak to a manager in a very evident manner. By the time I'd made the McFlurry, the manager was with her. I wasn't really paying attention, but I could see she was being nasty for no good reason. I don't know what kind of day the manager was having, but he wasn't having any of this woman's attitude. They started screaming at each other. You come into my establishment and you insult my employees. What the hell do you think you're doing in here? I ought to take you out back and rip your damn wig off, you piece of shit! Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her spit in the manager's eye, to which
I have to. I'm just gonna cut that off. But okay, right.
he slapped her in the face. He immediately regretted throwing hands and disappeared from the counter to go hide in his office. That's when the crazy woman went berserk. She started hollering at the top of her lungs, pushing stuff off the counter and throwing random objects into the kitchen. She threw over a cup of straws, spilling them all over the floor.
What, y'all think I'm stupid? Think I can't count? I got a 10-piece, not a 9-piece. Maybe I rip off one of your fingers and see how you feel about it.
She was making an awful scene. At that point, I couldn't help but look. Several of my co-workers went to the counter to try and calm her down or get her out of the restaurant, but she was inconsolable. She pulled on one of those plexiglass barriers that hangs in front of the cash register and hurled it towards somebody. It nearly stabbed their eye out. Still, the corner of the plexiglass sliced them in the temple, spurting blood all down their shirt.
Let me see that witch that gave me my food. Come on, she needs a good beating.
I realized she was talking about me, and that's when she jumped the counter. She locked eyes with me at the window and lunged, but she was caught by a small crowd of employees who got a hold of her and threw her out the door. But she was back. Several times she came back, actually. Every time we thought she was gone, she would storm back in and throw something else at the people in the kitchen. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the manager came out and yelled at her.
The cops are on their way! You really want to throw your life away over one chicken nugget?
At that, she disappeared. The cops showed up about an hour later, asked a few questions, and took a copy of the security footage. I thought she would eventually get fined a few grand or spend a few nights in jail, but we never got word that she'd been caught. 3 or 4 months passed, the season changed, and I pretty much forgot about the whole thing. Pretty much everyone moved on, even the cops. Then, one day, I was working the drive-thru again, and I saw her. She came back with her boyfriend and ordered the exact same thing. My heart sank to the floor when she came up to the window. I recognized her immediately. She still wore that same awful red wig, but this time she was even more insane looking. She stared me down with this creepy, deranged smile, like some kind of psycho would look at their next victim. But she didn't say anything. She just took her food and drove off slowly, looking at me through the window until they were out of sight. I thought about calling the cops, but I figured she would leave once she counted all 10 of her nuggets. It gave me a jolt, forcing me to remember her littler rampage back in August, but after a while I wasn't thinking about it. Several hours passed and the sun went down. Then I was done with my shift. Right before I walked out the door, I remembered that I'd seen her that day. Just as a precaution, I got out my keychain and clutched the little pink bottle of pepper spray. I'd had this thing since I was a sophomore in high school, about 6 years, so I was sure it was expired, but I figured it would be good enough. I pushed open the door and walked out with long, quick strides headed for my car. Within seconds, I heard her walking behind me, racing to catch up with me, coming up so quickly that I was sure she was about to attack. Instinctively, I turned around and sprayed her straight in the eyes. Without bothering to linger for any reason, I turned back and ran to my car. As I fumbled with my keys looking for the unlock button, I looked back to the woman with the insanely colored hair. She was still standing, but she was staggering. I saw her wipe her eyes vigorously and spit on the ground. Then she looked straight at me. Her eyes were bloodshot, all the skin around them swollen and red and covered in thick tears. She bared her teeth like a rabid animal, drooling. She screamed horridly, then charged at me unhindered. I pulled open the car door and jumped inside, locking it behind me. I thought I was safe, but before I could even calm my nerves enough to start my car, I saw a rock bashing into the window, smashing it like a wine glass. I shrieked, and then her hands came through the window. They grabbed me by the hair and yanked me through the door, all over the shards of glass and dropping me on the pavement while still grasping at my scalp. She struck me in the face repeatedly, using her nails like claws, cutting my face and eyes, splitting my lip and scarring my cheeks.
This will teach you to disrespect me, you little punk. You gon' remember me.
I don't know how long I was taking that for. I didn't fight back. I just clutched my car keys so she wouldn't steal it. Eventually, I heard my manager come out and start yelling. That's when the crazy woman dropped me to the ground and ran off, disappearing once again. And what's worse, the police still haven't found her. They don't care enough about me to go looking, I guess. But she ruined my life. I quit my job after that day, and I moved back into my parents' house. I even missed my college graduation because my face was so messed up. I'm too scared to go outside. I'm just worried that I'm going to run into her, and she'll recognize me all over again.
The customer begins to argue with a worker over her order. There is no audio, but witnesses told police that the customer became verbally abusive toward the staff. That's when the situation turned violent. The customer tried to get behind the counter and had to be pushed back out the door by other workers. When she couldn't get behind the counter, she started throwing things. For the next 4 minutes, the woman with the red hair threw everything she could get her hands on over the counter. Wet floor signs, a trash can, plastic order numbers, another wet floor sign. Before leaving the restaurant, she grabs a big promotional sign and heaves it over the counter. Then she finally walks out.
Let's hope that detention will be enough to get you to start acting like lady.
Hi, what's the address? It's 12150 Research Parkway. And tell me what happened. Oh my God. I was driving into work, parking my vehicle, and this gentleman, he's lying on the ground next to her. Okay. Oh my God. Where are they? Are they in the parking lot? They're in the parking lot. Is there, can we tell if they're breathing or? Oh my God. I don't know, ma'am. I can't go closer. Okay, yes. Okay, come on. Calm down, okay? And so you're on your way, right? Yeah, ma'am, I need you to stay on the phone, okay? Stay on the phone.
Let all of what I am about to say be a warning to everyone who hears this. Hold your loved ones close. Keep them safe. Do whatever you have to do. Just don't let them get hurt. There's a whole terrible world out there full of sickos, stalkers, and violators, and most of them are hiding in plain sight. But for as long as the people you love are safe and sound and by your side, the world isn't so bad. It's only when that all gets taken away from you that the world becomes a dark, cold, and lonely place of constant suffering and endless despair. All of it started when she started working at Hooters. We were just dating at the time, but we'd been into each other for a while. I didn't really like hearing that she started working somewhere so exploitative, but it was her decision, and it wasn't like I didn't trust her. I was just too concerned for her safety. It turns out that my worries were well-founded. I'd give anything just to go back and find some way to keep her out of that horrible job. But at the time, when it really mattered, I didn't do anything. It didn't take long before I started to hear about the regulars at Hooters. To tell the truth, it always made my blood boil to hear about it. Those neck-bearded creeps who come in almost daily and chat with the waitresses and pretend their little crushes are going to get them anywhere. Liz, on the other hand, didn't seem to mind at first. I'll have a sloppy feast between them cheeks. I started hearing a lot about one regular in particular, this old guy named Roger, who quickly turned from a little excessive to a serious problem. Liz said he used to be so charming that they actually had some kind of minor friendship going on. But of course, Roger took that out of hand. He asked her for her phone number almost every day, but she never gave it to him. Instead, she gave him an old email address that she never used just to appease him. At some point, Liz said she agreed to give him her work schedule because he preferred to be served by her over anyone else. Whoa, don't you think that's a little private to be giving away?
He's gonna come in every day anyway. If he wanted to know, he could just figure it out. Why not save him the trouble?
Yeah, but it's just... Don't you see why it's weird for him to want to know that in the first place? I guess working at Hooters makes you get used to a lot. because that seemed to be the first moment in which she really caught a strange feeling from this guy. Unfortunately, by then, it was probably far too late. You know the old saying about throwing a dog a bone. Things only escalated from there. Roger would hover around her and follow her to her car, and even try to ride home with her. Then, he started getting handsy, trying to reach for Liz's waist while they were talking, and getting very aggressive when she didn't allow him to put his hands on her. That, of course, is very much against the rules of Hooters, so Liz threatened to throw him out of the restaurant over it. I can still hear the conversation in my head, the way she relayed it back to me.
I'm more of a loyal customer than you'll ever get. Do you know how much I tip every day? I shouldn't be treated like this.
This isn't a brothel, Roger. Just because you tip a lot doesn't mean you get to treat me like a piece of meat.
After that, Liz put in a word with her managers at Hooters, trying to get them to ban Roger from the establishment altogether. But they didn't listen to her, of course. They reprimanded Roger about the rules, but they were worried that if they started banning regulars, they'd lose their whole customer base. Just goes to show what Hooters really cares about. That's around the time that Liz remembered the email address she'd given to Roger. When she opened up the inbox, it was filled to the brim with hundreds of manic messages, calling her horrible names and accusing her of being a liar, and this and that, and all sorts of deranged stuff to say about a sweet girl like Liz. When Roger kept showing up at her work and harassing her every day, she went to the police and showed them all the emails. But they just shuffled her over to the information desk, where she filed a report that would probably collect dust without ever being looked at once. When the police ignored her too, that's when she finally quit Hooters. We thought we were done with all the Roger drama right then and there. Our lives were starting to take off together. Liz started a new job as a teacher, something she'd always wanted to do. I even proposed to her, as we were getting out of college and it felt like the right time to start sealing the deal. For a few months, things were pretty idyllic. Life was shaping up to be pretty nice, but then Roger showed up once more. Somehow, beyond anyone's ability to guess, Roger found out where Liz was working and started harassing her there too. The emails continued, of course, and they only got worse. Roger started sending threats and ultimatums, demanding to have her. With Roger showing up to the school she worked at, she didn't want to put any of the kids in danger by having him hanging around, and I was ready to get as far away from him as possible. So that's how we decided to move across the state to Orlando. It wasn't the greatest thing to have to do, but it helped us feel safer. We both got jobs at the same place, which was nice, except for the fact that it was a customer service call center, which was pretty soul-sucking. For some time, we managed. Roger continued to send his emails, but we thought he'd lost track of us and wouldn't be a problem anymore. When we moved into our new house, we got married. We were able to go on our honeymoon undisturbed and live our lives like normal people, for a few months at least. But again, somehow, Roger found us, but this time he showed up at our house. I'm ready for my meal.
Get the hell out of here or I'm calling the cops!
Liz found a letter in our backyard with no postage on it, which meant that it had been delivered by Roger himself. Liz didn't let me read what was in the letter, but it must have shaken her. She called the police and had an emergency court date set up for the next day. We compiled all the evidence we had against Roger, all the emails, the workplace harassment, all the interactions Liz had with him, and how he followed us from town to town relentlessly. Somehow, behind all semblance of logic, the judge thought that was all insufficient evidence to instate a restraining order. Rather than put a restraining order against Roger so that we could finally have some safety in our lives, the judge scheduled a hearing with Roger in the following weeks, which meant the judge notified our stalker that we attempted to get a restraining order filed against him. Liz and I were both paralyzed with fear when we realized this. We had no idea what Roger would do when he found out about this, but we knew it wouldn't be good. We tried our best to wait it out patiently, but we didn't get the chance. The last time I saw Liz, we were sitting in our car in the parking lot of our place of work. Her shift started an hour before mine, so she got out of the car and went in first. But within a matter of seconds, she called me, distraught.
He's here! He's here! Roger's here! Come get me quickly, please!
I jumped out of the car and ran for the entrance to the call center, but I couldn't get there in time. I heard the gunshots and I knew. There were so many gunshots. It was like each one shattered my soul and then crushed the remaining shards into dust. When I got there, Liz was on the ground in a pool of blood, full of bullet holes. Roger was there too, but I didn't pay any attention to him. His brains were splattered across the pavement, but I had no time to rejoice. The love of my life was dying right before my eyes. Somebody call 911! Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. I love you so much. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. I love you. We rushed Liz to the hospital, but it was too late.
What happened is a little bit over a year ago, she worked at a Hooters restaurant near the beach. Roger Troy, a 16-year-old man, 61 years old, and she was only 23.
Is chasing this 23-year-old girl?
It seems like that he became obsessed with her. He would write her harassing emails, follow her around, even stop by her house. She filed for a restraining order with a judge.
What is the address of the emergency? Hello?
She's still alive. Oh, no.
Hello?
I love you. I love you.
Help me.
Give her CPR. Breathe.
Okay.
Put your phone down. All right? Phone down.
Sir?
Oh, my God.
Sir?
Okay. Come on, baby. Yes, I'm 10 floor. Where's the ambulance? No. Worry about this. I am bad. Get in there. I am bad. Come on.
Sir?
Come on. Where the hell is the ambulance?
Sir?
You got blood in our hands, so we got clear. Back up. Come on, somebody help!
Oh wow, thank you, Ed. We're done. I've been recording for 32 minutes. Yeah. Hold up, I just want to test. Okay, it does work. Okay, I was just like, yeah, I don't know if it worked or not, but it did. Okay. Anyways, well, everybody, I guess this is it. This is. Okay. Bye bye.